Welcome to the Halo Outreach Podcast, where we reach out to you, the Halo community, to keep you up to date on everything that's going on in the Halo universe. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 33 of the Halo Outreach Podcast. And as you guys can see, if you are viewing this, if you're on Spotify, obviously you can't see, but we have a very special guest today, Blaze Dillon, who formerly worked at 343 and was one of the brainchilds behind one of my favorite playlists in Halo 5, the Mythic Arena playlist, and we will deep dive into that with him in a little bit. Just want you to just say hi to everybody, Blaze, so they can hear your lovely voice.
You're muted.
I'm gonna have to get used to this push to talk.
There you go.
But welcome to the podcast, everybody.
Yes, sweet. And of course, here to my left, I guess I would say, would be KevinKoolx, my fellow co-host, as usual, joining me on this podcast adventure. How you doing, Kevin?
Doing well, Mr. Pitt. Just excited to do a little podcasting today. And but yeah, I've been basically just kind of held up inside here in Seattle. I've been basically at home for the last 2.5 weeks. It's been kind of the same.
Yeah.
It's like when you've seen those memes where it's like when you find out your lifestyle is called quarantine.
Yeah, really not much has changed for me personally. I tend to stay away from people in general, so this is like, I was built for this. I could literally shut myself off from the world and be fine, but hopefully everybody out there is staying safe, staying healthy, and maybe this podcast will provide a few people with, just a little bit of an escape from what's going on in their daily lives. We have a little bit of Halo news to talk about. Not much went on this week. That's why we really wanted to seek to get somebody on to entertain you guys. So we'll go over a H2A flighting update for PC. We're also going to talk about some Mcc Nameplate Feedback that Postums had made like a thread on the Waypoint forums that we thought was a pretty interesting topic. We'll also go over the 343 response to delay fears for Halo Infinite. Obviously Series X could get delayed because of the whole coronavirus thing. And then, of course, we'll do, like our playlist updates and stuff like that as usual to cap out the show. And we're, of course, going to get to know Blaze a little bit and ask him a few questions about basically what he's done and seeing where maybe he's going in the future. So first, let's talk about the H2A flight update. Basically, not much new here. Basically, we're still on track, supposedly, for the end of March as a flight could happen for H2A and Halo 2 as well as possibly the Reach audio fixes that we went over last week. And basically 343 is working from home right now with this whole corona outbreak. Microsoft gave them the okay to work from home, so that's kind of interesting. I wonder what kind of limitations that presents. For a developer working from home, I wouldn't think all the tools necessary would be available to them from home, but maybe with technology nowadays, it really isn't as bad as what I'm thinking it is. I mean, maybe Blaze, I don't know if you could shed light on that. What would you think as far as, working from home as far as a developer goes?
Muted.
Push it.
All right, it's only the left control that works. My it's not bind to
We're
it.
slowly getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah. So I believe everyone will have enough of the tools to get the job done. Definitely something that they are more prepared to do than other companies. So it probably won't put too much of an impact on most people. I think everyone there's hard workers, so I think they'll be able to focus and get their work done and stay on track as much as they're able to.
Cool.
Yeah, would you say that, I don't know if you know much about like the process behind it, would you say it's kind of rather like autonomous work, where really kind of like at your computer working on what you need to finish, and then you kind of just like share it with everybody once it's done kind of thing? Or is it kind of like there's a lot of communication between people, you kind of have to like always be on kind of thing?
It definitely is nice to just be able to walk across the room and ask questions if you need direction on anything. But I think at this point, everyone has the direction that they need to kind of go about their projects and complete what they need.
Hmm.
Also, I'm sure they have pretty constant meetings through either voice calls or visual calls, like even this here. So I think the communication isn't as big of a deal, even though it is definitely nice to just be able to get up and walk over to somebody's desk if you
Hmm.
have any help, have anything you need help with.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, because that's kind of similar situation I'm going through right now. Like, obviously, it's easier when everyone's just in the same place. You can just kind of like look over and be like, "Hey, I need some help" or something like that. But like I said, my work it's rather, I'm just kind of at my computer plugging away, and then if we need to help, we always have chats open, or we can jump into calls real quick. So it's really not impacting our what we do for work like really much at all with
Yeah.
staying at home.
I could
I can
see
see
it
how a lot
being
of people
like,
would be an issue.
I could see it being different, like, for Joe Schmoes like me, or, us, like, for 343, they're all very passionate about Halo. And when you're passionate about something, I could see it, not being as much of an obstacle for them, working from home. I know if I was working from home, it would be much tougher, with all the distractions at your home, like the Xbox or your PC or things like that, to be like, oh, let me just go play a quick game or two. But, it's,
Yeah, right.
I think it's definitely different when, you're, working on something that you love so much. So that's pretty cool that they, like Blaze said, that he doesn't think there'll be a problem with them, as far as
Mhm.
working hard and getting things done, getting what they need to get done. So that's very comforting to hear, obviously. But I mean, if they would have delayed something, I'm sure, there's a couple people be like, oh my God, here we go again. But, some of us more level headed people would have been like, all right, yeah, I get why, these things are delayed, because maybe they have some obstacles that they have to overcome from working from home. But definitely very comforting to hear that they should be able to stay on track and get it out, hopefully by the end of the month. If not, I still think it'll be first couple weeks of April.
Mm.
We have yet to see like nothing go wrong, no blocking bugs, nothing happen in Ring 1 and 2 where it would get out to the Ring 3 flight testing right away. So I still think they might find a couple things and push it back maybe a week, but
Yeah,
still good news to hear.
I would say within a week or two of the end of March,
Yeah.
early April.
Yep.
Yeah, we get it. And yeah, that'd be sweet. Looking forward to
Yeah.
play some H2A NPC for sure.
Yes, definitely.
And of course, any delays are obviously important.
Oh
They're
yeah.
not. I'm sure they're not looking forward to delaying anything, even if they have to.
Yeah.
They're only going to do it if they need that time. So all in all, it can only help if that ends up being the case.
Correct.
For sure.
What
All right.
before we move on, I just want to ask, what are your
Mhm.
opinions on H2A Blaze? Because me and Kevin have very specific opinion. Like, I personally, it's one of my favorite Halos. Because I know you love Halo 2 as well. Halo 2 and Halo 5, much like myself, two of our favorite multiplayers. So, what are your opinions on H2A? Are you really looking forward to it coming to PC?
I think the single player was knocked out of the park. I really like
Mhm.
all of the updates and the updated visuals and stuff like that. Um, for me personally, the art direction of the multiplayer maps is a little bit out of my personal preference. Obviously, they're still pretty beautiful and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some choices that they made for the multiplayer that maybe weren't in my preference, but I definitely think that they did a pretty good job. Um, Only wish that there were more maps for it and stuff.
Same.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
definitely.
with modders and stuff like that, that eventually Forge will be able to be updated, or like how we saw in Reach from the modding community with unlimited objects and stuff like that. If we could get that in H2A, that would definitely be really cool.
Cool. Yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
Cool.
Did
All
you
right.
ever?
Well, go
I
ahead.
actually got a question. Did you bother much with Halo 2 Anniversary's Forge? Because I know you guys really that's kind of how you got involved with getting involved with Halo kind of side of things is through that, right?
Yeah, so I've at that point I was forging since Halo 3, and pretty much every single game I have a handful of designs and different content and different successes within those games. And H2A was no different, for sure.
Yeah, it was definitely something right. Definitely, it was like a evolution of Forge before Halo 5 came out, and it kind of just blew the doors off the hinges right there with that Forge for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah. I never really bothered with it. I used to Forge a lot back in Halo 3 and Reach, but then like no one was ever playing my maps just because I just spent all the time making it, and I'm like, oh wait, I need friends to play with this on it. They all want to hop on at the same time and play my little custom map. It's hard to line that up, as I'm sure you know, Blaze, and we'll definitely get into that a little bit when we're talking about the Mythic Arena and stuff like that. But yeah, so I kind of fallen out of it a little bit, but I used to do it a lot back in Halo 3. Like that was like my main thing I did in that game. It was fun. Cool. Especially with all the little weird like glitches and tricks you can pull off with that game to make things work better than they're supposed to. But yeah, so I guess we're ready to move on to the next topic about the MCC nameplate feedback.
Yes, let's do that.
All right, so take it away, Pete.
All right, well, MCC nameplate feedback. Pretty self-explanatory here, people. Basically, Postum's made a post, of some feedback that they were taking. Yeah, it's weird. Made a post about some feedback for what people wanted or what the community wanted for MCC and nameplates. And personally, I will go first, I guess, of what I want, and we'll go down the line here. I said I really like, first of all, what they did with Reach. With the update with Reach, I thought the nameplates took a big step forward compared to the base game of what we got for nameplates. You could definitely tell the difference of the newer nameplates versus the older nameplates of that launch with the game. I would personally like to see maybe some animated nameplates, something along those lines, something moving. I think would be cool for the harder achievements to do in game, and I specifically wanted maybe a dedicated 100% completion for each Halo game for achievements. So you complete all the CE achievements, you get one, Halo 2, and then for the overall MCC having like a really badass, maybe Master Chief animated nameplate to showcase 100% completion of achievements, because I think that'd be a really cool thing for kind of. This is a really good opportunity, 3 for 3. You guys can take this idea. Halo 3 better be like Hayabusa or Katana related. That would be pretty dope to like call back to Halo 3 for getting all the achievements and getting the katana on your back.
Pat. Oh, there he goes. You froze up there for a second, Pat.
Oh, did I? Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I don't know if everybody heard that, but yeah. And then on top of that, I would also like, there was another thing that Halo 5. If you won 52 in Halo 5, I would like to see maybe some sort of call out in MCC for having the max rank in Halo 5. That'd be a cool nameplate as well.
Spectrum.
Goddamn Spectrum. Can't stand it. I don't know if you heard that, but 152 Halo 5 nameplate. I want it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Shoot. I actually did bother to actually reply on the forum for this one, and I thought I would kind of share my points. We actually had some similar ideas there, Pat. We're about animated nameplates. I said it would be pretty awesome. Yeah. Just like, even like something like how like the in the Halo 5 emblem, where if you went to a tournament or an event, you had like that flashing HCS one.
Yeah,
I like that one a lot. So like something simple like that. It doesn't have to be like some like, it doesn't have to look like a Disney movie in your nameplate. Just something a little interesting,
Right.
And then I thought like also kind of like, I really kind of like the idea of like the numbered nameplates that they had in Halo 5. Just kind of cool for like different communities within Halo, like for clans and stuff like that. That would be pretty cool. And also like just kind of like general like cool looking design kind of stuff. Like it doesn't have to be like necessarily like Halo looking. Just like some cool looking design, kind of like the new Grassroots nameplate, or like the Winter Contingency nameplate, where it's like that ice with the skull on it. It just looks cool.
I do like that one, yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't necessarily have to be like Halo related, or also something like with the different factions within Halo, like, or different markings or symbols within Halo that kind of mean something like the Mark of Shame that for the Arbiter, or UNSC logo, or like Halo Wars 2 Banished logo, which actually looks pretty sick as well. And then I also just in exclamations I just wrote Yap Yap nameplate as well.
Yeah.
But that was like my brief little thing. I could go on about it, but that's kind of like my thoughts on the whole thing as well. How about you, Blaze? You grind out MCC nameplates much, or you kind of just like, yeah, because some people care about it, some people are just like, yeah, it's just nameplates.
So that would be something that I'd probably do. I've been heads down in many different projects and my own stuff, so I haven't really been able to play a whole lot. Plus, I played all of those games to death. So most of my
True.
time spent playing games is Mythic nowadays, or
Yeah.
playing Halo. But as far as the nameplates, I think the more you can add, the better. Honestly, one I don't know if this was just from visual feedback. I didn't actually get to read the post yet, but one thing that I always wanted with the nameplates was once you unlocked them, seeing how you unlocked them might have even been updated. But I noticed that you can see how to unlock each one, but then once you unlock it, you don't get any
That's
feedback
true.
of how you unlocked that.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something that I would push for feedback. Visually, though, I think any sort of additions. I agree with you guys' ideas of animated ones and 100% completion for each game, and the 152 for Halo 5. I think would be a really cool like backwards one as well.
Cool.
Yeah. That would be
that's
awesome.
actually really good feedback because I can't imagine how many times I've gone through. Because personally, I would think most people would be the same way. I don't really choose maybe the most visually appealing one to me, but basically the one that's really hard to get. So when I'm going back through my nameplates and looking like, which one should I rock to show off to people? And I don't know how the hell I got these nameplates. So
how do I flex properly?
Yeah, how do I really flex on these scrubs real quick? So I've definitely done that several times. I'm like, all right, man, how the hell did I get this one? Should I be wearing this one, or is it really easy to get that a lot of people would have? So that I think that's really good feedback, and I honestly totally forgot about that. Yeah, it hasn't been updated yet. It still doesn't show how you unlock the nameplate. So yeah, we should definitely push for that.
It's still going to be a pretty awesome nameplate for to change mine though, because I'm rocking the Fire Unicorn. Because it's like I have a special connection with it, just because like I got my Christmas song put up on Halo Waypoint on like a community.
I was rocking that until I got that new HCS grass, which I don't even like the HCS, the new one. I think the old one looks way better. But I won the new HCS grassroots one, so I'm rocking that because I don't see many people rocking it. But it's really not that appealing looking to be.
I think it looks cool though. I like it's clean. It's sharp.
I like the old one. I think the old one looks cooler, but that's just me.
Yeah. So yeah, cool like little nameplates, guys. Like I said, link to this would be in the description of the video and in Podbean and also on Spotify in the description. So if you guys want to leave your feedback, go check out that link. You can leave your little feedback on what you would like to see for nameplates on the MCC. Because we figured probably with a lot of progression coming up with like probably a new season, I'm assuming with Halo 2 Anniversary coming around, we're probably going to be seeing a lot of nameplates for like progression. So we'll see what happens with that. But I guess we can move on to the next topic, but the 243 response to delays. And we kind of touched on this already a little bit earlier, but we did get like a little bit of feedback from Unishack on that one. Really kind of just real brief. Basically, he also just kind of went over and talked about the the home field advantage is what he called it, basically. And he also noted that I like how in the poster he didn't mention how these two Spartans in the post are staying at comfortable at least 6 feet away from each other.
Oh God.
For social distancing there. But basically just I mentioned about we're removing all obstacles in our path and we'll tracking well. Oh my God, I can't read. But we be mindful of the limitations, understanding of the whole situation going on. So basically they're saying that like with MCC and PC and Halo Infinite that they're still tracking well. There's not a big hit when it comes to meeting deadlines and stuff like that, or meeting goal posts that they need to hit. Something's wrong with my voice today, I guess. So I've been seeing like a lot of videos. I've seen like articles written up about like Halo Infinite delay, Xbox delay, and stuff like that. But I did see a tweet from Major Nelson as well talking about he was referring to more about like that leak that came out saying like
For
Thanksgiving Day release.
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, that's not true. We're still aiming for 2020 holiday release."
Right.
So I'm assuming that everything is probably still on track right now. So I think,
Supposedly.
yeah, supposedly. So I did get an email that my suit that's getting made for my wedding is been a little delayed because of the whole situation. Single tier, but yeah.
No.
So
That
I
just
think
that just gives the wife more time to make sure she definitely wants to go through with this.
Damn,
toxic.
But yeah, so that's I think it's just kind of really reassuring. And like we also talked about with you got Blaze earlier, kind of saying like how working from home can be a little bit more effective, but it doesn't really slow things down, which is good to hear. But yeah. So yeah, I guess we kind of move on to I say we had the appetizer, we had the main course, and I think it's time for dessert. No, that's coming up later.
Blaze is the main course. Let's be real now, all right? He's the main freaking course.
So yeah, we got Blaze here on the stream today, guys, for the podcast. If you don't know, Blaze was part of the Halo 5 sustain team. He was there for a year and a half. I believe you're probably working as a contractor, if I remember correctly, right?
That's correct.
Yes, yeah. And so he was involved with a lot of your favorite probably Forge maps. So you probably were playing in Halo 5 in some way or another, or just kind of create up some new playlists, fun things like that. And I kind of wanted to go talk to him about, he also was kind of like, I guess, like were you like the head of the Mythic Arena playlist kind of being put into Halo 5?
Yeah, so I was managing it from the 343 side, and then had other community members managing specific sections or leading specific sections of.
Right on. And so yeah, so I was thinking like maybe kind of start off with like a little bit, before times when we talk about like, well, basically what got you into Halo? How did you first play it? What made Halo so great that you just wanted to like keep playing it more and more and make it like more than just a video game?
Well, back whenever Halo 1 was the only game out, I had played it a handful of times with my friends, and they were all obsessed with it. All of my friends played and played and played, and I actually really did not like Halo 1. It actually pretty much turned me off of first-person shooters because I had liked GoldenEye and stuff like that, and I just honestly didn't like it at all. But I played it because I was pretty good at it, and all my friends played it. So, just join in and hang out. That's what we were all doing for fun. And I didn't really fall in love with the series until Halo 2. Halo 2 came out, and I was like, I didn't really care for Halo 1, but I guess I'll give it a try. And played it and instantly became obsessed. Just all the time playing Halo 2. I was really big into like the glitch community and like tricking community. So I would do like the trick jumps and speed runs and all that kind of stuff. And it kind of sparked my interest in level design a little bit. Seeing like the outside of the campaign levels and how they were optimized and like missing textures on the back, and just wondering why and how that all came to be as a kid. And then got into the competitive scene as well. Played like local tournaments, stuff like that. So
awesome.
With that, started to really recognize the reasons for the designs and all of that. And then Halo 3, obviously, Forge came. So Forge was pretty much all I did. I played competitively for pretty much the entirety of Halo 3 as well, but I focused a lot of my time in creating levels and making different experiences in that game types, everything. And then that just carried on and continued, and by the time Reach came out, I wasn't really feeling the gameplay for Reach, so then it took over. Like, yeah. So the
Fortune
level
Reach was great
design,
though.
yeah, that's
Yeah, Forge was good.
where I spent all of my time then. Like first maybe a couple months or whatever, we played competitively and tried to get really good at it and learn the mechanics and all of that. And then I just pretty much dropped playing matchmaking almost altogether. Not that it was bad, but it just was not my cup of tea, for lack of a better term. And yeah, that just kind of spiraled into a world of level design where that's the majority of everything that I do now: level design, game design, and just slowly branched out into other aspects, especially working with the limitations of how Halo game types work and how the mapping works. With all of those limitations, really gave me a broad experience of how to build a game more than just levels. So yeah, that's kind of how my path led me here. Before I worked at 343, I worked on a couple different indie games. Like one was called Shooty Squad, which was a one-man team that I just reached out and asked if he needed some help, which was a good experience. Got some team experience. I worked on the Installation 01 fan game for like 2 years, providing level design with them and getting team experience. And worked on a game called Reflex Arena, which is an um, old school arena FPS style game, but brought into a modern era is like hyper competitive. And then I think those are all the games I worked on before I got into 343. And it's weird because I always did level design, but I got into 343 as a sustained designer, so doing playlists and stuff. And of course, at first I was like, that's interesting to me that I'm not like utilizing my expertise in this. But then once I got there, I really found out how much of that I would actually be useful in the long run. Something's breaking. Yeah, so for sustained design, you utilize a lot of different skills, and I got experience in a lot of different things that I didn't quite have experience in, on top of being able to utilize all the skills that I've learned over the years.
Well, that's awesome, man. And so I think you're involved with like the Forge Hub website quite a bit, if I remember correctly, as well. Like you're working like a lead moderator or something like that on there.
I'm not, but I am a regular. I've been on since pretty much the conception for the most part. And it's funny because right there it's actually up.
Oh, really?
Forge Hub is up on my monitor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been around there for a really long time. I've not been a moderator or anything. Back in Halo 3, I was a premium, which is just basically getting features on the front page. So many features would get you the like premium status or whatever.
Just knowing that like you make good content, it's people have seen your stuff, they approve it, and then they make sure like if when Blaze puts something up, it's good kind of thing.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was back then. Was just kind of the highly skilled mappers that would have a different colored name, so people would know who to reach out to whenever you need help, and who to look at their content for, like to kind of bridge your knowledge into a better understanding and whatnot.
Right on. Actually, it was kind of funny when you were mentioning about CE, and I was kind of feeling. Now, for back in the day, I thought that game was just like the greatest thing ever. But now, like going back and playing it now, that's on PC. Now I'm like, a lot of times I'm like, how did I enjoy this game this much? Because there's like so many times I'm just like, I'm like, that should have hit. That should have hit him.
Hopefully, you feel that way about Halo 3 when it comes out. and you'll realize what I've been talking about this whole damn time.
That's not gonna change. That's not changing that. That's not
God, the
changing.
freaking project! I can't stand that VR. I'm sorry, I have to say it again.
Nowadays, there's a lot that I appreciate about CE, like things that aren't directly apparent. Not that I necessarily enjoy playing the game as a whole. I think it's fun, but there's definitely things to be improved for sure.
Oh yeah.
But you can say that about any game.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the first one too. So
yeah, for sure. I think back then, just being a kid, I didn't appreciate everything that went into game design and to make to innovate on the things that they did to make the game as great as it was for its time. I didn't really appreciate it back then, but there's a lot of things that I appreciate now, just subtleties in the game design that I wouldn't have noticed without seeing different perspectives from it.
Agree.
Yeah, like
I wanted to ask
jump
you.
Sorry,
Go ahead, Kevin.
I was saying, like, I was kind of adding to your point there. Like, yeah, the jump from CE to Halo 2 in gameplay and everything is drastically different.
Yeah.
Like, even like the movement is so much better in Halo 2. The shooting feels so much more satisfying.
The level design
is much more coherent.
Yeah.
The spawning way better.
Oh my god, yeah.
And just everything. So yeah, like it's kind of crazy. Like thinking that then I think Bungie kind of threw that together in basically like a year.
Yeah.
Or maybe less, and then having been so much better and different from Halo C, which was guaranteed gold at the time. It's kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, so back to your point there, Pat, you're gonna make.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about Mythic Arena, and I mean, I've talked to you about this. I've talked to a lot of people about this, but basically, a lot of people think that Mythic Arena is like a look in at Halo Infinite, and I would probably say pump the brakes on that because it just seems to be more of just a project that a bunch of people that were passionate about kind of bringing classic Halo into Halo 5, just basically a new classic playlist with a little bit of a modern feel to it. I think that's what more the aim of Mythic Arena was, and I was wondering if you could maybe shed some light on that and maybe just talk about what the inspirations for Mythic Arena were, because like I said, you are a pretty big fan of Halo 5's base multiplayer, right? Did you enjoy the mechanics of it? Because I know I did, but I still love Mythic Arena, and it seems like some people are kind of, maybe who didn't enjoy Halo 5's base mechanics actually really love Mythic Arena too, so I think that's kind of interesting. I wanted to get your take on that.
Yeah, so I think Halo 5 is an amazing game. I prefer the gameplay loops of the original titles and the just the way that the games play. I definitely prefer classic, but Halo 5 is still one of my favorite games of all time, like no doubt. There's so many great things about it, even if there are some aspects of the loop that isn't my favorite from the franchise. But yeah, going on the point of Mythic Arena, it's actually kind of crazy people that are reluctant to like consider that it's made by a small group of community developers that like there are some people that are just misinformed, just don't know how game development works and how there are separate teams for each aspect of the game, and even that Halo 5 and Halo Infinite are two totally different teams, let alone how the playlists come about. And then there are those people that even after you tell them how that it works, that they just straight up do not believe you that that these like two community members that are leading the aspects of Mythic Arena weren't behind the entirety of the game design of Infinite in the last year that it's being made. Yeah, it's just I think a misunderstanding of how game development works and stuff like that. Regardless of how Infinite turns out, Mythic Arena itself is literally just a community project, a passion project from specific members of the Forge community. How I came to be a part of it is actually maybe a little bit before I started working at 343. There were game types going around, different variants of what Mythic eventually became, that were called, like, there was Evolved Slayer, which was a like Magnum Start classic style game type, and then there was a BR variant of it called Slap Slayer, which is Sergeant Slaphead, who like kind of uh, led the level design and art design aspect of Mythic Arena, and it was pretty much just primarily a variant of Evolved with BR starts, if I remember correctly. And I I loved Evolved. I thought it was great. It was a little bit overly sweaty, so I definitely saw the appeal of the BR start version a little bit more. How it was accessible, and specifically how people flocked to it once we started testing it. It really showed the potential that we got a couple people in for testing, and at this point it was really hard to get playtest lobbies. Like you wanted to test a map, you had to like plan a weekend ahead and make sure that everyone's like actually dedicated to come test it. But then once we started testing Mythic and different variants of it, um, people were asking when's the next lobby, when are we having the next lobby, and we were having like a couple a week lobbies, and it kind of just became a much bigger thing than we had expected it. Even then, I wasn't planning on doing a playlist. Of course, I wanted to, but I didn't know that it was going to be something as big as it was and as polished. And um, yeah, so there was a couple different maps. The art style wasn't defined. There was like just pulling from random community maps that worked well with the settings to an extent. But then every single map that we were testing ended up getting remade from the ground up multiple times by Slap to make sure that every travel path was um, balanced with the weapons and the movement settings that we had, and working around the sandbox limitations that Halo 5 was built for. And it just got a larger scope and a larger scope, and eventually I was like, okay, this is to a point where we can start to push this towards a playlist, and I'm gonna talk to people that I work with, see if it's okay. And like, we were doing Monday lobbies every single Monday. We would have Mythic Monday, and it just kept growing, and became what it is.
That's such a cool. So basically, no, they're not testing Infinite in Halo 5. This just started with like really cool idea, and it ended up just being really fun to play.
Yeah, this was definitely something before I was even at 343, and then after I was at 343, I was still bringing on a primarily community-made project and just organizing it and helping them produce the level of quality that they would need to get into matchmaking, which actually on the quality side, I don't think that I even needed to. I maybe a little bit on the direction, but those guys just killed the quality. They were a pioneer of their own ambitions. So every single time that I asked for something, they did 150%, always doing better than what I had set as a standard.
Yeah, like there's so many just like key forgers out there that just do an amazing job just every time. And it's kind of just like, I look at it, I'm just like, wow, it makes me almost not want to bother with Forge. I'm like, there's no way I can make anything that good.
Yeah, I won't bother with Forge. It's just, I'm not that creative.
A lot of the stuff they do is so good. Like yeah, so like the Mythic Arena playlist, like the map design is pretty awesome. It's still like still like working within the limitations, like especially the visual limitations of Halo 5's Forge, but making it look as much of a developer-made map as possible, while also kind of bringing back that classic feel from like the CE and Halo 2 days.
Yeah. See, that's why it spoke to me so much, was like no thrust, or not no thrust, no Spartan charge and no ground pound, which was huge for me because those are two of the Halo 5 mechanics I could do without. I'm pretty much fine with everything else in Halo 5, but those two mechanics, they feel cheap to me, almost, and I really liked that Mythic kind of got rid of those. And I kind of wanted to ask too, Blaze, like, was that pretty early in the conceptual design to get rid of those features? And was there ever, I've got a lot of feedback from a couple friends that don't necessarily enjoy Mythic that much, that feel like the H2BR is just too much of a laser. Like, has there ever been I don't have a problem with it. I love the Halo 2 BR. I love Halo 2, so it's not a problem for me. But was there ever like I know you said there was CE Magnum starts. Was there ever Halo 5 Magnum starts considered as a primary weapon?
Oh, that's actually what it was. It was the Halo 5 Magnum.
Oh, okay,
start.
okay.
Despite the name evolved.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just the vanilla Halo 5 Magnum. That's what it started out as.
Okay.
It went to the Halo 2 BR. It went back to went back to the Magnum. Went to the standard Halo 5 BR. We went to Jet BR. We tried literally every combination of things that you could imagine out of the like BRs and pistol starts, and for even the limitations that we had, like we experimented a lot. Of course, everybody that developed it also agrees that the Halo 2 BR could benefit from less aim assist and bullet magnetism for sure. Other tuning aspects, if we had the control over it, we definitely would have done too. For example, maybe slowing down the bullet rate so that it's like a fast moving projectile, or the time in between shots, lengthening that. So there are plenty of things that we definitely would change if we had the ability to. The Halo 2 BR was just the best option for the experience that we are going for. It doesn't just add to it doesn't just feel like the best option for an accessible and nostalgic sort of gameplay, but also added different aspects as well to that. For the pistol, for example, we want you to not feel like you're sluggish and moving real slow. Like if you go back to play Halo 3, you feel like you're walking in sand, like you're walking pretty slow in that game. And while that isn't necessarily a bad thing, it does feel better to go faster. But moving that speed up, then if you have the pistol and you're like strafing at a higher acceleration with that, it's impossible to land shots face to face. So it would turn into a beatdown fight every time, or different aspects like that. The Halo 5 BR, reason we didn't go with that is literally just because it doesn't feel good.
Pretty much.
It doesn't. It's not that it is just a bad weapon altogether for the sandbox that we created. But whenever you were shooting it, there was often times where you feel like you're shooting shots and it's not hitting, or like you don't get the feedback that you want, or there's too much kick, or like there's a bunch of aspects of it that just doesn't feel smooth and like the experience that we wanted to provide. So not only did we consider the balance that we wanted to strike with the gameplay, but we also had a balance of what kind of aesthetic we're going for, what kind of feeling we're going for, the smoothness of like old titles Like if you go back to play Halo 2, it still feels as smooth as it did back then, but then you don't have any of the quality of life features that were implemented into Halo 5. So of course we have our different things that we would change about it if we had more control over that. But seeing as it was made in all user-facing tools, we did have to make some sacrifices and pick the best option for the overall or the feeling of the project.
I'd say you guys accomplished that for sure. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
of like all the possible starting weapons that you had, I think probably that was the best one to go with, really.
Yeah, actually, to add to that also, I don't know about you guys, but I get way more perfect kills with the Halo 5 pistol and the Halo 5 sandbox than I ever do with the Halo 2 BR and the Mythic
Really?
sandbox.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would say so.
because your strafe acceleration is much higher, and I hardly ever get perfect kills in Mythic in comparison.
Mm.
Like maybe 1 out of 5 is like a perfect kill, or 1 out of maybe 10, somewhere in between there. But then you go into Halo 5 vanilla, and I'm like having a pistol fight with somebody. It's like, I don't know, like half of the time I'm getting perfect kills, even with people that are like mad strafing and whatnot. But yeah, I think in comparison, relative to the like scale of the maps and the strafe acceleration that you have and everything, I think it's more balanced than what people say. Even though I think it still can definitely be improved. I think it just feels like a laser a lot of the time. I don't want to blame the player at all for this, but a lot of the time, if you put yourself in a bad situation, you're not going to get out of
You're
it.
gonna pay for
And
it.
yeah, and not to say that that's inherently the player's fault, because if we could do things about that, we would definitely do things about it. But there's other aspects to it other than it just being a laser that causes it to feel that way, I think.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
agree.
definitely have noticed it's a little tricky to like, if you're like turn on a guy, it's like it seems like a lot of the battles do kind of be like person who gets the first shot and wins more often, but that's kind of like, well, a lot of gunfights in Halo,
Right.
or just shooters in general, really. But yeah, like I said, I kind of understand those concerns, and like I wish it was a little bit less, but like I said, I think for the gameplay you guys are going for, plus it's a little bit of a nostalgic kind of playlist as well with a new updated gameplay, that the Halo 2 battle rifle is probably the best option you guys had to go with right there.
Yeah.
Actually, I also had a question. How long did it take for you guys from like conception of the playlist to release in December? When I met you the first time at that barbecue after the 343 meetup, you were showing me like, you're like, oh, check out what we're working on. And I was like, that's really cool. But that was like back in August.
Yeah. It was a while. Pretty much the entirety of my contract, it was going on. At the
Oh, wow.
beginning, I wasn't pursuing it as a sustained beat by any means, but they were still working on that and kind of making their own things, not even considering that it was a possibility to get it into matchmaking. And then I would say it was probably about a year, a little over a year in development. It's probably the August before I told you about it that we started.
Really?
Yeah. So it would have been like right after I got hired on, and we started having our Mythic Mondays and really started to focus on what the core map lineup would consist of, and how those maps would be distributed in style and color. Like that's something we even went into, like the individual colors of the maps to separate them to make them more identifiable, similar to the classic Halos. So we went through all the planning phases like that and defined the art style. And it was probably around maybe like June, right around the time of Reach's uh, announcement, the Reach and PC MCC announcement. Uh, Actually, probably right before that is whenever we started pursuing it as a sustained beat and putting deadlines in place to start meeting the the ultimate deadline that we had to release in December.
That's awesome. I see. Like that's. I don't think people realize how long it takes, how long of a process it is to make up these kind of modes and playlists to implement them into Halo 5 or just games in general or in Halo. Because I see comments like when I'm making like Halo 2 anniversary flight news, like they should remaster all the maps. I'm like, you don't realize how long that's gonna take,
Right.
Because I'm sure you were inviting me quite often to try to get involved with some of that play testing. I was only able to get into one just because I'm doing other things and just schedule lineups weren't really working out too well. But yeah, you guys were like always constantly like testing like once a week or more, even trying to get that gameplay down right. And I think you're also maybe a little bit involved with like that BTB refresh as well. If I remember correctly, that happened last year.
Yeah, actually, you don't have to bring this up or anything, but on my ArtStation website, I think I have a link to it on my Twitter. There is a sustain section where you can go through and see all of the content beats that we had during the time that I was there. I think there was maybe 20 content beats. So we had like monthly releases basically the whole entire time that I was there. The BTB refresh was one of them. That was another one of our high scoped projects where it took us, I think the forgers were working on it for about a year before release, and we started really like pushing into that content maybe like 6 months out, something like that. That was definitely another big project for us.
Yeah, you guys are really trying. You guys were doing a lot of testing for that one. That refresh turned out to be awesome.
We could definitely put a link because we always link our guests, like social media and stuff. We definitely put a link to that in the description of the video for people to check that out. I think that'd be pretty cool for people to go check that out. You also, I think I remember correctly, you've worked on some stuff with Splitgate, right? That's a game I really haven't tried. But I really want to because I heard there's a lot of similarities to Halo with that game, and I don't know if you want to touch any bit on the stuff you've worked on there.
Yeah, so
I think he froze.
He's really good at statue.
He's really concentrating.
he's
like Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy, right? He's
there
like,
you go.
I'm perfectly still.
Can you still hear me?
yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, cool. Yes, sorry about that. Maybe it's because I'm changing things on the computer here. But yeah. So I have I made a layout for them originally just as something to do in my free time, which would have been Abyss if anybody has played it. That's the first layout that I did for them. It's kind of just an example layout, but they liked it enough that they wanted to pursue it as a official one. And recently, actually, after my contract ended with 343, Cardinal from Splitgate reached out to me, and I started doing part-time level design for them. So you'll definitely see more from me on that in the future. Awesome. As far as comparison to Halo, I would disagree for the most part. I think there are some visual aspects to Halo. There are definitely some little bits of similarities to it. But the overall gameplay loop is a little bit different. Drastically different in the sense of the portals. But even outside of the portals, I would compare it a little bit more to something like Black Ops 3 or even in some minor ways of like the gunplay, Destiny might be a good example. But yeah, if you went in, you would definitely notice similarities of Halo. The gameplay loop is just a little bit different than what people compare it, I think.
And the movement's
Not
a
that
lot
that's a bad
faster
thing.
as well, right? Like the movement's really
It looks like a very fast game. Yeah.
you can hop around quite a bit, like even like kind of almost like Quake in a way of how fast you can move around.
Yeah.
You know,
It
so I
seems
think
like
people just made sorry, continue, Pat.
No,
What were you
go
gonna say? I was gonna say that also. I think a lot of people just kind of draw the comparisons because they're like arena style maps and they're pickup weapons.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I've
there's like
seen like very
and then there's a battle
visual
rifle.
stuff. Yeah, it looks like I was gonna say I've seen something that looks strangely like the battle rifle, and I think that's where a lot of people maybe get their comparisons. But I mean,
Yeah, the art style definitely is the biggest influence, and the arena maps, like you mentioned. Movement and stuff is pretty different. They do have like a shield system similar to Halo. Overall, I think if you look at it as a whole, it plays very different from Halo, but you might be able to find some things that you appreciate in Halo that carried over to that. Because of the gimmick, the gameplay loop definitely had to be a little bit separate.
Right. And I think, are you still working with Soon Studios, kind of getting that game going together?
No, unfortunately, not working with them too awful much. I'm more or less just there to answer questions. Anytime somebody comes to me about a question, I'm happy to answer it and everything. But I haven't been doing any new content for them, mostly because they're focused on finishing the content that they're already working on and trying to get it to a releasable state rather than starting a bunch of new projects within there.
Understandable. I got a chance to play a little bit when you were at that barbecue we were at, and like seeing like but it's built in Unreal 4, if I remember correctly.
Unity.
Unity. That's right. Yeah. And like the visuals on it are great. Honestly, like they look so good. And like the remake that they did of Beaver Creek in that game. Like I love like they made like a cold, icy version of Beaver Creek. And then like with these like really so it makes it like the reds and the blues like really stand out bright and just really just gorgeous. And I was gonna, how do you have any idea like what their time frame might be? Like could we possibly see like a 2020 release of Installation 01?
I can't really say. I will say that they did post a teaser recently and maybe even more information. But they had a looping video that said "soon, no more,"
I saw that, yeah.
which I'm assuming is hinting at the fact that it's being pushed for release, that they have a date in mind. I don't know if they put a date out publicly. They might need to finish up some more things before they really are confident on a date that they can put it out. Also, I think that they will need to communicate with 343 to make sure that they don't overlap with the release of MCC or anything like that. So I don't know if they can put any official date on it, but they hope to get it out soon.
Right.
Of course.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are looking forward to that, myself as well. I think it's just multiplayer, right? Just a multiplayer created game, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so multiplayer is the only thing planned for it.
Right on. Actually, I have a lot of question about. I know that like 343 has hired people for specifically for forging. Like I know that was a Wavering Zoo recently got hired on to do forging. Is it so? I'm just kind of curious. Like when it comes to, are they just like on the Xbox, just kind of forging all day, every day when it comes to doing that stuff, or what kind of stuff is involved with that? Because I feel like it would be more than just like playing around in Forge.
I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure how much I can say about that, but I believe that the position is a Forge content creator. So from that, I would speculate that they are making Forge maps to release with the game, similar to how past games have. But there are more level design oriented positions as opposed to just examples of what you can create in Forge. That would be what I guess from that, but I can't really say for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right on. But yeah.
I'm about out of questions. What about you guys? I know we're getting a little
I mean,
long-winded here.
I mean, it can go on and on, but I think I've kind of like hit the kind of a lot of the notes I wanted to hit on.
Yeah.
Or how about this? Like, what was probably one of your favorite experiences working at 343, part of the Halo 5 Sustain team?
I really enjoyed just about everything. Um,
Mm.
that that position in general was just a ton of fun. Like more enjoyable than I could ever imagine. And it's it's weird because whenever I originally was interviewing for the position, like of course I was excited and thought that I would be able to nail whatever position that they give me. But at the same time, I didn't have experience or didn't think that I had experience in this field because it wasn't what I do on a normal day-to-day basis. And then it ended up being a lot more like that. So
Mm.
pretty much just working in general was just the
Yeah.
the best experience because it's what I've been doing for how many years and just on a larger scale and making a larger impact. I guess something else that I can point out is I did a couple like Make a Wish events and stuff like that. That was really fun too to see like aspiring uh, game designers come in, little uh, children that um, just wanted to learn and wanted to know the process of that, and being able to sit down with them and teach them some stuff. Um, Randy and I both paired up and did a couple of those together, and that was really, really fun to do as
Mm.
well.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Actually, I kind of want to like do a quick run through, so then like people who are listening who might not know will know like all the stuff you've been involved with when it comes to Halo 5's uh, sustain, team. That I thought it'd be kind of cool thing to run through, like at least all the playlists that you've kind of helped work on. The same. Thanks for that link you just put in the chat for the playlist updates right here. So
No problem.
the Forerunner Slayer playlist. Yeah, the new SWAT editions. You had Roaming
Just
King, which I
don't. I hope you didn't do Castle Wars. That's all I'm gonna say.
Hey, Castle Wars is one of the most popular rotations.
It is so popular. It's just not my cup of tea, man. It's not my cup of tea.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that. It's not something that I necessarily enjoy playing, but I'm glad that there are people that enjoy playing it.
Yeah, of
I'm
course.
glad that that experience can be provided for them.
I
But
kind of
no,
enjoy
I
it.
wasn't a part of that.
I think it's fun. I think it's like so silly fun. I mean, but to each their own, right?
Yes.
But yeah, you got like other playlists that you worked on, like the Roaming King playlist, which I love. Roaming King.
Love
That
Roman
is
King. Yep.
super fun. Pretty much every time that mode comes out, like I got to play at least like 5 games in, and just get some time in playing that. Big Team Super Fiesta, which is still I think one of the most popular modes in Halo 5. You had the Halloween infection update as well. Community doubles round 2, which the community doubles plays I think was awesome as well. Like the forge maps were like so well done, and this like made so unique looking maps while also being just like I said, just fun to play, which is cool. Everyone's favorite holiday fiesta. I think that's universally praised for just being awesome. The head-to-head playlist, which actually was a really cool, like a lot of really cool like nuances that were done with that mode as well, with some new maps and stuff like that. Ranked doubles update. You had the ranked free-for-all editions as well. Hardcore Super Fiesta, which is coming back on April 1st, which I thought was like very thematic for that playlist.
Oh, did they announce that it's coming back?
Yeah, on April 1st, on the recent, when Unishock's recent
Cool.
community update put that up. Like I mentioned earlier, the BTB refresh you're involved with, Husky Raid, love me some Husky Raid.
Husky Raid's dope.
Action Sack refresh, ODST Slayer, 2v2 competitive mode right there. And of course, like we've been talking about, Mythic Arena, Mythic Rumble, and then the community Slayer rounds as well. So just, I'm sure a lot of people, you were like, probably playing Halo 5, like, yeah, this is pretty cool Forge stuff. Well, Blazer was pretty much the lead behind most of that kind of stuff, and so you can thank him for kind of helping implement that stuff into your favorite shooter. So that was a lot pretty cool stuff to be able to put your name on there. Whether that was pretty awesome to kind of shout out right there.
Yeah, the real credit goes out to all of the forgers and the content creators. I'm just the organization behind it that pushes it to the quality that it needed to be for matchmaking and put it all together. Also, Randy.
Oh yeah, Randy.
Randy 355 definitely just as much a part of all of these as I am.
Yeah, so awesome stuff, man. Well, I guess I think that's about everything, man.
We got to go over playlist updates too before we end the show.
We did mention it, so might as well talk about it, right?
Yes. Speaking of which, 343 recently announced that weekly you'll be getting a Gold Warzone and Arena XP pack, which has 20 gold boosts inside of them, which is awesome. So I'm under 3 million left to 152 now, so that's definitely going to help in the final push to 152. Like we just talked about, they announced the upcoming schedule for Halo 5 Guardians. So right now we have Triple Team, which is double XP. Mythic Arena is still double XP and ranked. And we have Core Play coming in for Triple Team on March 26th and Warzone Turbo going live for the weekend on March 26th. And like Kevin mentioned, Hardcore Super Fiesta April 1st rotates in for ranked in April, and Covey Slayer is coming in for Core Play on April 2nd. Shout out on my birthday, Rock and Rail's coming back, so thank you 343. I know you guys love me just so much. Appreciate that. So if I'm not 152 by then, we'll definitely be finishing it on like a birthday stream. I think that'd be cool to do.
You've only tweeted at Unishack 100 times about when's Rock and Rail coming back.
Yeah, and then banned for 2 weeks. Boom. And then we have some Warzone Firefight news. So basically, it seems that Legendary Warzone Firefight is getting consolidated into Heroic Firefight, but they're going to change the XP gains for Heroic to be more in line with Legendary Firefight, so that's kind of cool. While Mythic will be staying as well. So they're consolidating. We talked about consolidation of playlists for Halo 5. That was going to be something, coming up throughout the year, so we'll keep you guys updated on that. And I guess it'd be nice to mention, especially since you're using it for thumbnail, the new book coming out from Troy Denning, The Shadows of Reach, which has our boy Beefy Chief from Halo Infinite looking nice with a blue team. So who knows? Maybe they're in Infinite. That would be pretty cool. They're returning to Reach. So that's definitely probably something I really don't read books anymore, which I probably should. And I love The Fall of Reach, so I might actually pick this one up and read it. I think that'd be really cool. It's got an awesome cover.
It takes place like a few months or like a couple years before Infinite.
Yeah. Before, it's definitely between Halo 5 and Infinite. So that's really cool. It looks pretty dope. So I'll definitely be checking that one out.
The new armor on Blue Team as well looks pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah. So hopefully that's how they will look in Infinite, if they are in it. And next, also, I need a picture of Arbiter. From Infinite, please.
Right. But then also with the MCC got a playlist update that they rotated out CEA in Reach for Fiesta for just all modes right now as well. So you can hop in and play some Fiesta, which people do love their Fiesta, especially in Halo 5. I think Super Fiesta has always been like the most popular mode in the game. Mm-hmm. So cool stuff there. Well, I guess so we can give a little shout outs here. So we'll start with you, Blaze. Where can people find your stuff on the internet if they want to check out what you do?
I believe Twitter would be the best place to get a hold of me or take a look at my content, and that is at Blaze Dylan. I believe that's what it is. My pinned tweet has my portfolio. You can check out all the things I work on. It's going to grow pretty massively over the next couple months. With new releases and stuff. Other than that, I'm not too active anywhere else. So, you can hit me up on Discord. You could probably just find me in any community Discord anywhere. I'm not entirely sure what the numbers are at the end of my name, but yeah, that's where to get a hold of me.
Awesome.
Right on. Yeah, definitely give him a follow, guys. We're watching the video. That is his Twitter handle on the screen there as well. So give him a follow. Definitely worth. Blaze, super nice guy. So definitely give him a follow.
Yep.
What about you, Pat? Where can people find your content on the
Well,
internet?
thank you for asking, Kevin. You could find me on Twitter at the Patman Gaming. On Twitch, same thing, the Patman Gaming. YouTube, youtube.com/Patman Gaming. You know, if you go to my Twitter, you'll find all my links to all my social media down there on Twitter. And yeah, definitely give Blaze a follow. This was probably my favorite interview, dude. This was pretty awesome, Blaze. So thank you for coming by, dude. But before we end the show, Kevin,
No problem.
Where can people find you?
Like you see on the screen, at KevinKoolx Halo on Twitter. You can also find me on YouTube, KevinKoolx, Instagram, KevinKoolx, Twitch, KevinKoolx. All links for everyone's content is going to be in the description on YouTube and on Podbean and Spotify. Like we always say at the end of the podcast, guys, if you want to listen into the podcast without having to waste your phone battery with the screen being open on YouTube, check us out on Spotify and Podbean. And you can save your battery and be just as informed. But you will be missing out on our beautiful faces, though. That's the downside.
You would. That's a major downside. And also, I've tested this, and it feels really good. But if you have an Amazon Echo device, I'm not going to say her name, but you know how to activate her because she's listening right now to me. You could tell her to play the latest episode of the Halo Outreach podcast, and she will.
Actually did not know that.
That's pretty dope. That's pretty cool feeling. So
that's awesome.
You could tell that chick that starts with an A to play Halo Outreach podcast, and she will do it. So
we're cool. SEO friendly, Pat. We made it. Right on. But yeah, so thanks to everyone, as always, for checking out the podcast, listening and watching, wherever platform you're checking us out on, even on now on Amazon's always listening FBI device. And Blaze, thank you so much for coming by and spending some time with us on the podcast, getting a chat, because we've been trying to line this up a bit, but obviously when you were at 343, they were keeping you pretty busy over there, which it seems like they do with a lot of people at 343. They're like, if I have time, I'll try. But yeah, so thank you so much for coming by, man. It was a really good conversation and really insightful, and hopefully listeners enjoyed it as well. As always, Pat, thank you every week hopping on, chatting up. And yeah, I guess we'll have to catch you all in the next one next week. Peace out.